you mentioned Toyota and just the dominance. Five drivers that led over 50 laps, or at least 50 laps, all Toyotas. I mean, you look at this, Zach, as a whole, they led 298 of 312 laps in this race. 2022 to 2023, 15 of 1,253 laps that Toyota led at Phoenix in the Gen 7. But that is ridiculous, man. Wow. Absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, do you chalk that up to the package? Or I don't know what. I mean, the whole talk this season, the whole talk this year has been Chevy, right? They won at least the majority of the races coming in, and then the first short track, they completely crapped the bed, and Toyota literally leads the entire race. It was insane.
I mean, it's more of the car, in my opinion, because we talked about, again, the dominance that Chevy brought, but Cliff Daniels, even after Vegas, kind of foreshadowed a little bit and even mentioned that maybe the gap between Toyota and us, and even Ford for that matter, is a lot closer than we initially thought, because how close Tyler Reddick was able to at least keep it with Kyle Larson, even Larson to dominate that race, and then coming into Phoenix, sweeping the front row, sweeping the stages. You got 5 guys that you lead almost the entire friggin' race, and Christopher Bell, watching him slice and dice his way through the field. And then, I know you say it wasn't dominated, but that third stage and just totally, absolutely got blown away. I really wish that Truex would have not pit so early. He would have tried to at least let that strategy run out a little bit farther to make it a little bit interesting. And as soon as he pitted, would have been close. Yeah. It was
Bell
a foregone conclusion.
Bell really wasn't closing in on him like I expected. It was a little early in that run, but it was like 10, 15, even more laps than that. And I was kind of watching the margin. It wasn't really changing a whole lot. That just speaks to the tire wear and all that. But Truex had a really, really good car as well, a Toyota again. So I think Bell may have been in a little trouble there, but Truex didn't have an option.
Yeah, it would have been fun watching him. Yeah, for sure. It would have been fun to watch him deke it out a little bit more, though. But Bell, margin of victory. This is the largest margin of victory in the next-gen era. This from reporter Steven Stumpf. The margin of victory, 5.465 seconds. The previous high, New Hampshire 2022, also done by Christopher Bell, 5.439. Yeah, Christopher Bell on these short, flat tracks, man. You better watch out because he carries that quiet confidence. He feels disrespected that his name is not in the typical conversation with the Byrons, the Larsons, the Dennys of the world, but he deserves to be. He deserves to be. He doesn't talk much. He lets the results on the track do the work, and he comes in and, puts on a show. So understanding the dominance that Toyota put together here at Phoenix, and I know, again, it's a small sample. It's one race, but again, this is where the championship race is going to be held. So is it fair to say that Toyota is the clear title favorite after Phoenix? Because, I mean, you look here, Ross Chastain comes home 6th for Chevrolet. He's the only Chevy to finish in the top 10. Next best guy is Suarez in 13th. And then you have Kyle Larson in 14th. And every other Hendrick Chevy, Byron 18th, Chase 19th, Bowman 20th. I mean, just not what you want to see coming out of Chevy. Ford, huge bounce back RFK. We know that they really have succeeded on these more low downforce style racetracks. Ryan Blaney continues to just be extremely consistent. Michael McDowell, shout out, very solid top 10. Chase Briscoe hung around, the back end top 10, sometimes in the top 12 for the majority of the day. But I mean, Toyota has to be the clear favorite now. I feel like if it's only gonna increase for them. I feel like to understand what they did here, like the sky's the limit for them to just absolutely rake on these types of tracks and then some, because they're only going to continue to get more comfortable with this car, and it's only going to translate into better results. So to see what we saw at Phoenix, it's only going to get better. They have the potential to get a lot of these cars in the postseason as a result. So if you're Toyota, you got to be smiling ear to ear with what you saw. But I feel like they have to be the obvious choice to take home the championship if they are able to get enough guys in there when it's all said and done, right?
Yeah, well, you said it there, and I agree. Like at this point in the season, it's all about like baseline, like where is everybody starting the season from? Because as we know from basically every season in the history of the sport, like the guys who are quick in the beginning of the year, by the summertime, they're not running up front anymore. Like there are years where Joe Gibbs, would start the year terribly, and all the headlines are about what happened to JGR, where are they? And then when the playoffs start, they're all of a sudden, advancing through the round of 16, round of 12, round of 8, and you're like, oh crap, they could win another title. So I feel like that happens enough to where I try looking at the opening 2 months or so, through the spring as basically as like a starting point. And you don't want to become complacent. You want to always be evolving on your stuff because they're going to get better, but so is every other team, and every team isn't going to be tinkering with the same toys that you're tinkering with. So I think if they're evolving on their stuff, you can't be just looking ahead and just doing the same thing every week, because as you said, that's going to be old news by the end of this month, because all we're doing is this same package on different types of tracks, but they're mostly all short tracks. And I don't know if it's as clear, like looking at it from the perspective of this is just a baseline where we're starting. It's tough for me to say that, oh, they're the title favorite, they're the playoff favorite, because I just feel things evolve so much, kind of waves kind of coming back and forth with certain teams, certain drivers. And I know that they look tremendously well now. Even when Chevy won those opening 3 races, they really weren't. Even Larson, that wasn't quite the runaway that we statistically look at it, because as you mentioned, Reddick was on him on stage 1 finish, stage 2, and then the race finish. It was like the same exact gap. And each one he was closing in on him, and it was more about the aero game and what lanes to choose. But if they were both in clean air, I just feel like the 45 had the stronger car. It's just sometimes it's just about circumstance, and they look great right now overall, Toyota, because it was so consistent across many cars. 5 of them led the entire race outside of Todd Gilliland, and he stayed out. That's just what front row motorsports does. They always stay out and stretch their fuel, stretch their tires to lead laps, and just hope for a caution. Sometimes it works, usually it doesn't, but that's just their MO. That's what they've done for years. Outside of that, they led the whole race. So I think looking at it from there, that's really, really tough to do. Larson, led most of Vegas, and Atlanta, Daytona, just a different animal. And that's I feel like that's where Ford kind of showed their strength, not only qualifying, but then also during the races. But super speedway that's not where you would prefer to be your best, because how quickly that can be taken from you. If you're really good on a short track, like it's tough to get ahead of you. If you're great on 1.5 miles, that is a tremendous strength that'll lead you throughout most of the season, and short track pace, especially that can translate to road courses, that can translate to some of the flat tracks that we have. Like it's really beneficial. So that's where I do kind of see where you're going with Toyota and Gibbs, especially because if you show these type of strengths, that there's many more areas where you can build off those strengths, other than just a super speedway where we only get a few of those a year, and the last lap you can finish 30th. You can lead the whole race, and then you're just in the wrong line and you lose the race. The other types of tracks, they aren't quite that way.